Beat 2, 3, 4. How many cups of coffee are you on this morning, Nico?
This is just two. This is just two. It's just starting to flow through my stream, through my bloodstream. So yeah, just number two. First sip actually of cup number 2.
Okay, so here's the handoff for this morning. And what I was, Nino Damas over here, he had a story about the World Series. And so it's a World Series question that I'm posing to the both of you. You saw in the game where you had the home run ball and Mookie Betts is going over the center field wall and he's trying to grab the home run ball and make the catch. And you see the Yankee fans coming over the top, trying to grab the ball out of the glove, grab Mookie Betts at the same time, and try to create chaos and all of this stuff. Nino, let me ask you first. What would you do to those fans that were messing with Mookie Betts, trying to grab the home run ball and actually laying hands on Mookie Betts at the same time, like trying to, grab his head, twist his arm and those kinds of things? What would you do to those fans?
Well, that depends. Well, am I the Yankees? Am I on the Yankees organization, or am I on the Dodgers organization, or am I on the MLB?
You are MLB. You are the major domo of Major League Baseball. You are the man in charge. What would you do to those yahoos that were messing with Mookie Betts?
Jesus. You're not going to next World Series. That's it. I'm not going to make anything hard on them. Honestly, I won't. I mean, it's just part of the game, man. It's part of the game. Let it be fun.
Laying hands on a dude is part of the game.
Controversial, a little bit. I'm South American, brother. I like that. I like that. I like that. Those condiments, the spicy things. The chili, the habanero. I like that.
All right.
I don't know. I'm not saying it's part of the game, but it's something that could happen, right?
I could happen. All right.
So the extra mile. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't punish him. No, I wouldn't punish him.
Wow.
I won't let it go. I won't let it go. And that's how good I am.
Wow. All right, Nico, you are the commissioner of Major League Baseball. What would you do in this case?
Yeah, man, I probably ban him. I probably would not allow him in another ballpark. I understand that there is a passion component to being a fan, and I am pretty sure that alcoholic beverages had a lot to do with these people's actions. But you cannot affect the game in that way. You cannot try to pry a guy's glove open and try to take that ball. That's as if a player, as if a fan ran onto the field in the middle of a penalty kick and stopped it himself, and affected the game. And then the next kick, the re-kick, maybe the player puts it over the top of the crossbar, and you start to think, man, did that action of that fan affect or influence the result of the game, or did he try to do that? And that's where I lay the line. I'm all good and well with you maybe trying to catch that ball and try to hit it, but whenever you're putting your hands on a player and one is holding the arm and the other one is prying that glove open, I mean, that's just straight up wrong, and that is just beyond being a fan, and you're just being a-hole.
Happy breakfast in the West Coast. I don't know if that gets us the explicit rating. I don't care. That was funny.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, look. Jarrett leads the league in giving us the explicit rating every day when he's on the show. He just goes straight to it. He didn't care, and I don't either. Nino, my brother, I'm glad the scarf got to you, and we will style and profile again next week. Thanks again for everything. We'll see you on Gold TV. We'll catch up with you next week.
Have a good one, Nino.
All right.
Thank you, Nico. See you guys.
All right. That's Nino. Nino's wow. And honestly, I thought that was going to be, I thought that I was going to get the diametrically opposed viewpoints. With Nino being in South America, I'm like, I could see.
Yeah.
They're going, yeah, I could dig it. It's like the like ball boys kind of sitting there and, kind of taking their time with something and, kind of hiding the ball away from the late throw, that kind of a thing. I kind of saw where that was going.
And baseball's very particular, right? Because you can do what they did without leaving your seats. I mean, you're not even entering the field. So there is a little bit of an advantageous situation for something like that to happen. Again, that's exactly why we need to eradicate it from the game, because no fan should feel like they have that much power over a game. And they should just let the athletes be athletes, let the teams handle it on the field. And, that's just my take on it.
I love you both. All right, so let's get into the shenanigans that happened with Seattle and Houston. We spent the next day, no lie, we did a half-hour reffing down here segment on what went down with the red card and Carrasquilla and VAR and review and all of that stuff. I literally spent a half hour breaking down the handball from Mikael and the red card from Carrasquilla, where it took a total of 9 minutes to review from the action and the moment that things went down with Ted Uncle and, things start getting a little chippy and all that. 9 minutes of review on both of those plays. And I was questioning a couple of different things. First off, I want to get your thoughts on the match itself and those two seminal moments before we go further into the discussion. But when you were looking at Seattle and Houston match day one, what stuck in your head?
I think it went as expected. I don't think it's going to change much in the second game. So sticking to, obviously, the game in Seattle, we had two possession-based teams that kind of cancel each other out. We kind of knew that going in. They mirror each other information and some of their build-outs. And in this one, both were playing under their potential. Well, it was sloppy. It was imprecise on both ends. Houston clearly with a more cautious tactic going into this one. They outpossessed Seattle, but they outpossessed them in their own half. It was kind of possession without purpose, just trying to defend themselves with the ball, trying to eliminate any dangers for Seattle. And in Seattle's regard, is the same problem that we've had all season. There's just a lack of scoring from this team, of taking opportunities, and in this one it showed. There were times in that first half where Seattle could have gone up ahead. I think Pedro de La Vega had a very underwhelming performance, and the fans came out and criticized, of course, and deservingly so. I mean, in this one, there were transition moments. There were opportunities where Seattle could have had chances in front of goal that did not happen because of that imprecise play from Pedro. He was too rushed. There's an opportunity that he has on top of the 18 where he could just drive the ball into it. And once again, he rushes the shot, puts it on top of the Hawks nest, and it's just a bad look. So I think Seattle's attacking movements and their overall final execution just wasn't there. Jordan Morris, even before the injury, did not seem to get a lot of services and wasn't very involved in the game. And when he did, he wasn't sharp either. I even thought that there were moments that even Paul Rothrock could have been a little more patient, could have turned around, taken a couple of seconds, made a better decision, and created a more dangerous play. So credit to Seattle for sticking it out. I mean, we'll talk about the red card, but, credit to them to finish from the penalty marker, because Seattle has not won a shootout at home ever. And this is a stat from Jeremiah Shen from Sound Our Heart. He's the one who kind of laid it out. And it's interesting because I couldn't think of a moment where Seattle has been able to win in a shootout at home, and they did it this time. Great executed penalties. I thought that every single player that jumped on that ball was important. Raul Ruidiaz with the Panenka, I think, set the tone for that shootout. So credit to them. But Is it perfect? Is it ideal? No. Should have they finished off Houston with the men advantage? Absolutely. But again, in this 3-game series, at the end of the day, as Brian said, what matters is the win.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go to the red card. And it was this was a 5-minute process. You saw the initial moment involving João Paulo and the knockdown. This is what you're looking at on the television monitor. So your perspective is going to be different from what those of us that were watching it on television saw. In the monitor, as we're watching, you end up with João Paulo in the initial moment of the knockdown. Then people start to get together. Halfway, literally, you see like below the waist, you see probably a good half a dozen folks come together. And it was chaotic, to say the very least. It goes from yellow cards to a VAR review, video assistant referee review. Okay, so VAR review. I was making sure I wasn't redundant. To a VAR review, Karaskia's yellow gets upgraded to a red. And Ben Olsen, we ran his post game after the match the next day, and he said that there could have been, 5 cards, 5 people throwing haymakers, all this kind of stuff. What was that scrum from your perspective looking like, considering that we only got really the one angle that was shown to us on television of waist down, and then they jerk up, and then you see all this coming together?
Look, I'm going to be honest. Even at the stadium and having a shot from the press box, I did not see the initial contact and altercation that happened that resulted in that half-frame shot of Jackson Reagan on the ground.
Right.
But later, rewatching the game, and I put this on my Twitter, of course, as part of Apple TV and all that, because it's their feed. But there was one angle, one open wide angle at the end of the game where, they're kind of reviewing the game, they're going over what happened, and you see Coco Carrasquilla kind of lose his head a little bit. JP commits a tactical foul, quite honestly. He knew he was going to get yellow carded. And Jackson Reagan, he picks up the ball to prevent the quick restart. And in that moment, that's when Coco tries to get the ball from Jackson, kind of swings or try to punch, fumble the ball type of, Tillman situation there. And then Jackson, in a very savvy way, falls to the ground, and then Coco gets on top of Jackson Reagan, and that's when Albert Rusnak pushes them from the back, and it creates the entire situation where I don't know what Ben Olsen was looking at.
Yeah.
And I understand he has to protect his guys, but the only guy that was really violent was Coco. Okay. And it wasn't just hands to the face, but it was that attempted kick to the groin area or to the inside thigh that they kept reviewing over and over on the VAR monitor, because, we could see what they were trying to establish happened. And I think that's what gets him red carded. I know that Gamer was involved, and a lot of people were, I think, trying to separate players. And anytime you have a scuffle like this one, you're going to get hands to the chest, hands to the neck area. And I think that's the misconception by Greg at the time of the press conference, post-game press conference, is that he thinks it's just the hands to the neck, but it's an attempt of a kick to the groin to Albert Rusnak that I think was considered violent conduct, and therefore he gets the red card.
Yeah, I'm looking at your video now at El Rolo NW on the Twitters, and I see as Artur is pulling Carrasquilla back. So he takes that big, so it's that left foot that swings at Rusnak. That that angle. All right, so you had the big angle. Carrasquilla goes in, tries to grab the ball from Jackson Reagan, does a bit of a hip toss, goes down, Reagan turtled. Carrasquilla trying to take and push and shove and do whatever, but it was before everybody got together in the scrum where you tilt up and it's early, where Carrasquilla takes that left foot and takes a swing at Rusnak. He kind of just lashes out with the foot. So that angle I did not see, and I'm glad that you posted it. So at El Rolo NW, go back to October 29. You can hit the media function. You can see what Nico recorded off the television. So with all of that, then you end up with I mean, there was the Paul Rothrock challenge late that I thought was really rough when he went studs up as well. And
Mm-hmm.
I think Ted Uncle was managing the game well. And then after that red card, I don't know if you overmanage or whatever, or undermanage at this point. You just kind of let things go, I think, in the hopes that nothing else was going to happen. But a 5-minute review, that to me took entirely too long, because if you're looking for violent conduct, which was what they were chasing after, either it's there or it's not.
Yep.
And with Carrasquilla kicking out, as you know, and it took me 45 seconds and maybe 2 scrolls from what you had pulled to sit there and see Carrasquilla kick out with the left trying to hit Rusnak. I get that. Okay, cool. It shouldn't take 5 minutes to go from initial foul by JP to the scrum, Carrasquilla and Jackson Reagan, everybody coming together, and then Ted goes, goes blackjack dealer, bang, 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 and then switches from yellow to red. It shouldn't take 5 minutes, especially if it's violent conduct.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's part of VAR. And I'm sure that he's hearing all kinds of things on his headset, and he's got to explain his situation. Was it clear and obvious? Is there anybody else involved? So I'm guessing he's looking at different cameras to see if anyone else deserves to be cautioned. And I'm guessing that's what happened. But throughout the game, it was just, I think he got a little out of control. I think Ted Uncle, like you said, maybe tried to undercorrect after that and kind of let things be. I mean, he got to the, I don't know, 110th minute or something ridiculous like that afterwards.
113, baby.
113. So it really got up there. We kept looking at each other on the press box, and I was like, is he going to keep that in time? Because people kept falling to the ground. Obviously, Houston wanted to go to PKs, and they were slowing things down. Anytime that there was a foul, they were staying on the ground. And, they gave themselves the best chance. With one less guy, you also got to understand their point of view. And to play devil's advocate here, anytime that you have a team that goes down a man and they decide to bunker, really hard to put any balls through when there's 9 guys in the 18 in the box just fighting, blocking, pushing, and trying to kill the clock. So I think that's part of the reason why Seattle wasn't able to score. Raul Ruidiaz, I thought, was positive. I thought that he obviously is shaking some rust off. There was a couple of moments where, I don't know, maybe at the beginning of the year, or when he was a regular starter at the start of the season, he probably finds a better pass. There's a chance that I think he rushes. If he kind of pulls that ball back and hits it with his left, creates a better opportunity. But I thought Raul and Georgie were positive. Those are the 2 substitutions that came in the 54th minute, I think. One for Jordan Morris, who came off with tightness in his hamstring, and then the other one was Pedro de La Vega, which Brian explained that he wanted a true winger to play with Raul Ruidiaz, but I think we all saw that Pedro wasn't having his best game, and I think that's why he ends up pulling him off. I did want to see Pedro and Raul play together. I asked Brian again, and he was very comfortable with the substitution pattern when he did it, but when you haven't had Pedro de La Vega most of the season, and he's finally healthy, and you pull him off in the 52nd, you saw his frustration. He wanted nothing to do with Brian as he's walking off, which is normal. It just every player, nobody wants to come off the field, but his situation is very particular because he hasn't been healthy. I did think that maybe Brian pulled the trigger a little too quickly for a player that you want to see a little more. Even when they're having a bad game, maybe he shakes it off. Maybe he redeems himself. Maybe him and Raul have a really good chemistry within the game, and we didn't get to see that.
The handball on Mikael, to me, it was a slam dunk. I don't know why it took 2 minutes and 50 seconds to get to a handball no call, which is what it should have been, because the way that Mikael was turned, yes, he was perpendicular to goal, but you see it go off the inside of the shoulder and then drift over. And Ted Uncle seemed incredibly confident in his call, where Mikael's back is to Ted, and Ted goes bang, and he calls penalty. And it took almost 3 minutes this time to show that it was an easy no call, where it's once again clear and obvious. Clear and obvious is what we're checking here with VAR last time I checked. And so inside of the shoulder, drifts down. First contact is here, then it works its way down. I still don't know why it took 3 minutes to close to 3 minutes to come up with this decision before the eventual result. But like I said, this was part of that longer discussion that we had on reffing down here the day after. Why are 2 calls taking 9 total minutes when it should be something that's either there or not and clear and obvious? It was just another confusing moment for me.
Yeah, and it kills the flow of the game. And then, when it happened, it just kills the flow. It kills the flow. It kills the momentum. I think you're right. I mean, there is one angle where you could clearly see the ball hit the chest and then off the arm. It should have been a quicker call. But I had more questions about the violent conduct and how long it took, to be quite frank.
All right. When it comes to all of the other games, it looks like all the goals got scored in match day 1 out in the Western Conference. It was 5 by LAFC, 5 by LAG against the dinged up Colorado side. LAFC gets just enough to beat Vancouver. What else happened in your mind out west?
Minnesota. That was my upset of the Western Conference. I picked Minnesota to go through for 2 reasons. RSL's decline and issues that they have not been able to fully solve. I think Chicho hasn't scored since June. And, you see how much they need him to be the Chicho of old. And how good defensively Minnesota has been. I mean, if Ramsey has done something, is create a team that's difficult to break down. It's, a 5-4-1, very compact. You're not getting through the midfield. You're going to overpopulate those center zones. They're not going to allow anybody to get through the inside channels. Arango was fighting off Boxall and Jefferson Diaz all game long, and it just seemed like a battle he wasn't going to win. And oh yes, you had the other center back right next to you just in case. I think that they bracket him very well. I thought that Minnesota had the better chances throughout the game. They're very quick in transition. Jaboa is a handful. I thought that a player that I've never been big on is Trap, but I thought he had a very good game in this one. Obviously, Load, Manny's main candidate for Comeback Player of the Year. He was outstanding. But I think that the substitutions, the depth of Minnesota has improved, specifically with Pereira now full in form for this team, a guy that's a creative player that can give you a lot of opportunities, that has very good vision. So Minnesota wins it in PKs, deservingly so, and I think that they're going to close it out in the second game.
Okay. When you look at other second games that are coming up here starting tomorrow, what else in the Eastern Conference sticks in your head?
Oh man, there's a lot about the Eastern Conference that sticks in my head. I'm very curious about Atlanta, Miami, because I had people have the thought process that Inter Miami struggled against Atlanta, but I didn't quite see it that way. I understand that the goals didn't come, but it's hard for me to say that a team struggled when they were in year 18 all game long, and Guzan puts on a cape and writes an S on his chest and becomes Superman and stops, I don't know, I think it was like 6 shots from Messi, 9 overall. I mean, he was outstanding. Even when he has to, at 40 years old, run off the box and try to prevent Messi to get you one-on-one. So I thought he was great, but can Atlanta do more? Can they force the subject? Can they prevent with that defensive midfield a team from transition as quickly and as easy as they did? They were cutting to them like butter with a knife. I mean, it was very easy for Miami to get the ball to high assist positions or scoring positions, and that's not something that you want for Atlanta. So I'm curious on how Rob Valentino is going to adjust and try to bring it to Miami a little bit more.
All right. So what is going on at Soccer Bar and Pulso Sports? I know you're kind of busy with it. What's up?
Well, yes, sir. We're going to be here in about an hour. We're going to get into a couple of these games. The Charlotte-Orlando. Can Orlando close it? Charlotte looked okay. They struggled even more than they had offensively. Ajimang was not the Ajimang of old. Clearly, when Wilder Cartagena is in that midfield for Orlando City, they're a much disciplined team. They're harder to break down. I think Martino Head and Facundo Torre are getting hot in the right time. So can they close that down? We're going to talk about that in Soccer Bar. We're going to have protagonist of Houston. We're going to have protagonist in New York City, obviously talking in the show. So it's going to be a good one here today. And at Pulso Sports, you can always find today's training. After Soccer Bar is done and over with, we're going to be at the training grounds. We're going to figure out what's going on with Jordan Morris. Yeah. Today, the MRI results are supposed to be in. Don't know if we'll get an availability with Brian or we'll get any sense from a spokesperson from Seattle, but we'll be there just in case to see what it is that those results kind of come up with. I know that Brian Smetzer was on KJR last night, our local radio station, and he said that it's good news, that it's nothing that severe, but because it's game 2 away from home, he's going to be precautionary, and he's probably going to start Raul Ruiz. So you'll get to see all that here at Pulso Sports.
As always, my friend, great to see you on Thursdays. Be well, be safe. We will catch up with you again next week.